Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about when can you dump old tax records. Let's get into the video. Taxpayers often question how long records must be kept and the amount of time IRS has to audit a return after it is filed. It all depends on the circumstances. In many cases, the federal statute of limitation can be used to help you determine how long to keep records. With certain exceptions, the statute of accessing additional tax is 3 years from the return due date or the date the return was filed, whichever is later. However, the statute of limitations for many states is 1 year longer than the federal limitation. The reason for this is that the IRS provides state taxing authorities with federal audit results. The extra time on the state statute gives states adequate time to assess tax based on any federal tax adjustments that also apply to the state return. In addition to lengthened state statutes clouding the record keeping issue, the federal 3 year rule has several exceptions. The assessment period is extended to 6 years instead of 3 years if a taxpayer omits from gross income an amount that is more than 25% of the income reported on a tax return. The IRS can assess additional tax with no time limit if a taxpayer A. does not file a return, B. file a false or fraudulent return to evade tax, or C. deliberately tries to evade tax in any other manner. The IRS gets an unlimited time to assess additional tax when a taxpayer files an unsigned return. If no exception applies to you, the federal purpose, you can probably discard most of your tax records that are more than 3 years old. Add a year or so to that if you live in a state with longer statutes. An example is Susan filed her 2020 tax return before the due date of April 15, 2021. She will be able to safely dispose of most of her records after April 15, 2024. On the other hand, Don filed his 2020 return on June 1st, 2020. He needs to keep his records at least until June 1st, 2024. In both cases, the taxpayer must opt to keep their records a year or two longer if their states have a statute of limitations longer than 3 years. It is important to note that even if you discard backup records, never throw away your file copy of any tax return, including W-2s. Often, the return itself provides data that can be used in future tax return calculation to prove amounts related to property. You should keep certain records for longer than 3 years. These records include stock acquisition data. If you own stock in a corporation, keep the purchase records for at least 4 years after the year you sell the stock. This data will be needed to prove the amount of profit or loss you had on the sale. Although brokers are now required in most cases to keep purchase records and report the information to the IRS when the stock is sold, it is still a good idea for you to maintain your own records as you, the taxpayer, are ultimately responsible for providing the cost to the IRS if your return is audited. Stock and mutual fund statements where you reinvest dividends. Many taxpayers use the dividends they receive from a stock or mutual fund to buy more shares of the same stock or fund. The reinvented amounts add to basis in the property and reduce gain when it is finally sold. Keep statements at least 4 years after the final sale. Tangible property purchase and improvement records. Keep records of home, investment, rental property, or business property acquisitions and related capital improvements for at least 4 years after the underlying property is sold. As we become more and more a paperless society, you may wonder if you must keep the paper version of the records mentioned in this video. No, you do not. The paper documents can be scanned and maintained on your computer or in the cloud. But if you do convert the records to electronic files, be sure to maintain a backup that can be retrieved if you have a computer crash or cyber attack that takes over your computer. If you or your company needs help with preparing your tax return, feel free to contact me. My contact information is listed below in the description of the video. Thanks for watching this video and do not forget to subscribe to my channel.